Hey folks, just a couple of quick notes before we get going. First of all, this is part 2 of the finale of Lore's Arc, so if you haven't listened to part 1, go back to the last episode in the feed. The other thing is that in about a week, we are going to be recording a side character questions episode. So if you have any questions about the show, about me or one of the players, about Dungeons and Dragons, about whatever, go ahead and send it to either at SCQ Podcast on Twitter or to sidecharacterquest@gmail.com. All right, here's the show. As though you are just alone in a room standing. You feel as though everything has like melted away. You're no longer looking at a woman wreathed in this weird black glow with wings sprouting out of her back. You're no longer in this salty marsh. You're no longer a giant white bobcat. You are a man who is standing in just a space looking at a figure with a wide brimmed hat, a large smile, and traveling merchant's clothing. And in that moment, as their smile spreads, I want you to roll me a wisdom saving throw.
Non-natural 20.
Okay.
Wait, is this against magic?
Yes.
Okay, still non-natural 20. I need you to know that. So as the crag bobcat, I get advantage on saving throws against any spell that targets only me.
Nice.
So I rolled my advantage and it was a critical fail. So non-natural 20.
Nice.
And also let me know if I succeed.
Okay. So I'll tell you whether you succeed in a moment. So as you are standing in this space, the figure in front of you slowly not slowly, very unnaturally fast, like moves backwards and away from you. And you are left momentarily in pure darkness. A moment later, you see a light like glowing and bouncing off of your face, like the sort of rolling, ever-changing light of fire. A moment later, you hear cracks and you hear screams. And a moment later, you feel someone's hand grabbing onto your shoulder. And you turn and you look, and you see a young half-elf man who you recognize from your time as a wall climber. You look towards him and he says, "We gotta get out of here, man. They're like," or no, what does he say? He says, "Hey, are you doing okay? Come on, man, we gotta get going." And you look away from him and back around you, and you see that there is a home in front of you, completely engulfed in flames. You look to your left and your right, and you see more similar homes. You see your companions of many years running through the streets with packs, with clothes, with some of them carrying money and food they've pulled from these homes just moments before setting them ablaze. You also hear screams, and you see some small scuffles between your companions and just the people that lived in this town. As you are looking towards this house, you look through the window and see a small child crying, and you, for a moment, reach forward as if you were going to try to break in. But in that moment, you see a door on the backside of the house through this window. You see this door break open, and you see a young man. He's human, so he's basically a child to you. Burst in wearing chainmail and a tattered tabard, a tattered yellow and white tabard, as he bursts in and he grabs this small child and picks them up. This young man looks you dead in the eye, and you see just a burning, like, righteous hatred flowing from him to you. And in this moment, you feel that you are just as bad as everyone else. And in that moment as well, you recognize that this is an illusion that is being used against you. What happens when you succeed?
If the spell is of 7th level or lower, it instead targets the caster.
What?
Spell turning, son! Welcome to the joys of a crag cat.
I don't even know what this means.
So technically the spell has no effect on me and instead targets the caster.
Oh my god.
But that was beautiful. And hey Ty.
Yeah.
Now I feel like Roderick is disappointed in me. Wait, I imagine Lore understands that this is an illusion, and he looks at the young man, which I'm gonna pretend I don't know exactly what's going on and who that child is and who that young man is. And I look at him and just say, I'm sorry. And I look at the illusion of the half-elf and I just say, this wasn't what was supposed to happen. And then I look and I see the Saigoner and I say, fuck you. And it's gonna bounce, it's gonna target him instead.
Oh boy. Okay, wisdom saving throw time. Oh man. Oh, I'm so excited.
So I guess it's against his? I don't know if it automatic, because all it says is the cat has advantage on saving throws against any spell that targets only the cat.
Yeah.
If the cat's saving throw succeeds and the spell is of 7th level or lower, the spell has no effect on the cat.
Oh my gosh.
So I imagine that I know that all of this is an illusion.
Yeah.
And instead targets the caster. And I don't know, I assume that he has to roll against his own saving throw.
Yeah, and guess what they just got?
What?
A 4.
Bah, 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 bah. Fucking air horns come in. Bah, 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 bah.
As you say...
Let's see. Wait, what's the bargainer's most horrific memory? Because you know what? Fuck this guy.
So as... Oh my gosh. Okay. So as this happens, this space around you, like, bursts away from you. You are once again in that blackness, and then which then pulls into you, and you are back into the marshy loam. You're back as a crag cat, and standing in front of you is once again this woman with this weird black glow around them, and they look at you, and the smile slowly shrinks and then slowly turns, and then you were looking them, and they fall to their knees. Their hand starts to raise to their face, but the black glow leads their hand, like it's going to their face a little bit faster, and then their physical arm just sort of falls to their side as their hands separate from their body. Sorry, as the sort of black glow around their hands separate from the physical body. The figure in front of you sort of falls forward and leaves a sort of glowing black shape in her wake, which just sort of sits there for a moment, head in hands, with this just horrific, pained grimace on their face. They break for a moment and look towards you, then just sort of have a moment of anger and burst backwards away from you. You see them just rocket away, blow themselves backwards, and out of this space. You see all of the marsh that's surrounding you whip around and fade away as this person moves away. You see the stone, the brown stone with the sort of orangish metal return. You see the bear that had been close to you, that had been closing in. You see it completely disappear as it was just an illusion. You see the three other figures sort of collapse, and you see this woman with large wings laying on the ground in front of you. And what do?
Oh, is the black? Okay, so everything's shifting away. Is that black spirit still there?
The black spirit has shot. You can see it shooting out and away from you down the hallway that you had entered.
Okay, I run.
It is
40
moving
feet.
incredibly fast. You can run after it, but I just want you to know that it's running incredibly fast, or it's moving incredibly fast.
Okay, I run 40 feet.
Okay.
As I run, like when I get to the end of that 40 feet, I jump into the ground. Okay. Okay, so how far, and when I pop out, I'm lore. And I feel like I'm just like stumble forward, and how far away am I from it?
I would say maybe, it's reasonable. I would say maybe 60 feet. It's moving really fast. Like it is.
60 feet away from me?
Yeah.
Fuck.
Yeah.
Okay. I just yell, fucking stay out, you haint. And I cast create water again and make it rain in a 30 foot cube. So the one edge of the cube is 30 feet away from me, so the far edge of the cube would hit the ghost or the spirit or whatever, I'm assuming the bargainer.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I'm just fucking dumping water on 10 gallons of water on it.
On top of it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's see how it handles this. Yeah, so you see its form like shimmer and shake in a very like unpleasant way, but it continues on forward. You feel a wave of hatred pass over you.
Yeah, you stay the hell out of Mount Rena.
You look around the room that you now find yourself in. There's just water pouring down the hallway away from you. There's these fey raccoons and mountain lions next to these unconscious dwarf, wolf, and ram, and then this unconscious woman with wings that are just rapidly like falling apart.
And I look around at all this, and I look at the mountain lions and the raccoons. I've said it before. I've said it, say it 1,000 times. I fucking rule.
Jesus.
And I like just lift my club in the air and I just drop it and I say, fuck a haint. Say, all right, let's see what she's got to say for herself. And I walk up to the body with the wings. You said the wings are just going away?
Yeah, they're just sort of like falling apart and are just sort of like a pile of feathers now. There's not like any bone structure or anything in it now.
Okay. So I run over to the body that just has wings kind of disintegrating, which is uncomfortable. What's the storm look like?
The storm looks pretty much the same at the moment. Like you it's hard to tell from this vantage point that there's, you know, if you're in a storm, it's hard to say if the storm is a mile wide or 100 miles wide. You know, when you're just looking up at the sky above you.
Okay, yeah, that's fair.
Yeah,
I'll give that to you.
yeah. I can see you starting to.
Part of what you just said sounded like bullshit.
It sounds like bullshit, but it's not, is it? It's kind of bullshit.
No, I mean, it's kind of bullshit, but I'll give it to you. It's your world, whatever. I have 3 spell slots left, and I think I know how I'm gonna use them.
Okay.
First of all, I'm gonna check the figure on the ground. Is she breathing? Is she alive? Like, is she cool?
Roll me a medicine check real quick.
Oof. Oh shit, my medicine's pretty good. Never mind. 23.
Yeah, you can tell that this person seems like they're in pretty good shape, but as you sort of like flip them over to take a better look at them, you notice that there is what appears to be a crack going across their face in the same vein that the other people's, the other people were. But instead of it being, this sort of black glow, the way they had looked before, this crack is glowing with a soft gold light.
Well, that's not normal. And I'm going to go ahead and, just in case, cast Cure Wounds on them.
Cool.
They heal 11 HP.
Their breathing steadies considerably, but they still look, pretty well off, considering all things considered.
And I look and I see that she's unconscious, and I just say, "Haints, man, they get the best of us. So I've heard. Never actually been gotten by a haint, but shit, like fuck, man, fuck." And I look at like the spectral raccoons and mountain lion. I'm like,
they're just sort of nodding.
Fuck, right? Okay.
I don't know what sounds raccoons make.
It's like a kind of, I don't know. And I look up at the storm, and I first cast Enhance ability, Fox's Cunning.
What does that mean?
Which gives me, so I just touch my totem and like the last time I used that, I used Bear's Endurance, and I imagine that made me look like sturdier. Fox's Cunning, I imagine you can't really see, but it gives me an advantage on intelligence checks.
Gotcha.
So I'm gonna look up at the storm and I'm gonna cast Dispel Magic.
Interesting. Okay.
And my idea is that whatever like effects the haint was doing onto this storm, I might be able to get rid of.
Okay. Cool.
This is like, well, actually, first of all, so I have this intelligence. I want to do an Arcana check to see if I can note whether or not the storm is as it should be. An Arcana, or if I can swing it a Religion check to see if I can tell whether or not this storm is in an altered state currently from what it usually should be.
I think Arcana would fit better here.
Okay. 15.
Looking over this thing, you can tell that the intensity of it seems to be about the same when you came in, and you believe that it has not changed. That it is exactly as it was when you entered.
Okay, but is that like, would I know whether or not that is okay, so
it is
essentially
abnormal. If it was abnormal before, then it's abnormal now, and it was abnormal before.
Okay, then I'm gonna try with my last spell slot of the game.
Okay.
I'm going to cast Dispel Magic.
Go for it.
An attempt to... Okay, so just to let you know, Ty, for this to work, it is I am casting this. I basically have to make an ability check using my spellcasting ability. The DC equals 10 plus the spell's level.
Okay, cool. I have it in my mind.
Oof. Okay, and I get advantage because it is... Fuck me. My spellcasting modifier isn't intelligence, it's wisdom, so I don't have advantage on it. God damn it.
I will let you... Do you have one of those forms that lets you do it wisdom instead of intelligence? Because I will let you retcon that.
Yeah.
Because I don't feel like you would have made that... I don't feel like Lore would have made that mistake.
But to do so well on the Arcana check, I needed Fox's Cunning. I guess I can just roll and see what happens, huh?
Yeah.
Okay, so Dispel Magic. Hey, Ty, roll on my die for me real quick.
Blow on it, you mean?
Wait. Yeah. What'd I say?
Roll on it? Easy mistake.
Yeah, just blow on my die. Okay.
You can blow through the pop filter.
Rolling it.
What'd you do?
Hey, Ty, that's a crit 20.
Yay! Yeah.
In that moment, Lauren invents the dab for the Dungeons and Dragons or side character quest canon. Lore just like he rubs his hands together and he touches his totem and he just says, "Come on!" and he casts Dispel Magic.
Nice. Yeah. What does Dispel Magic look like? Actually, you tell me what it looks like as you calm this storm, quell this storm.
I imagine I touch my totem, and I say, "Come on." I grab the tome with my right hand. I say, "Come on," and I like do a cross movement with my left hand. And just, it's almost like I'm erasing the spell.
Gotcha.
And I imagine that by the end product kind of looks like a dab.
Okay, nice. And as you do that, what remains? There still appears to be a slight like wind, like cyclone, coming out from the center of this place, but it's so much more mild than anything that was there before, and you feel this like rush, this presence sort of flow through you that feels right as this temple. You see these vines just sort of growing up the sides of the walls surrounding you, and just sort of enveloping like a energy sort of sweeps over the space that you're in right now as the storm calms itself.
And I just look up and I reach into my little pouch and I feel that there's nothing in there anymore. You know what? That's all right. And I just look at the spectral mountain lions and raccoons, and I just say, once again, when y'all go back to your Fey realm, let everyone you know that I fucking rule.
And I think we're gonna end there. All right.
Cool. What a good line to end on. I fucking rule. Hey, me personally, I rule.
So tell me.
I was thinking that maybe you take us back to Mount Rena and no. Explore what happens between him and Fish. Maybe like he's able to convince Core that yes, he is his long lost brother Lore. Like. Is her long lost brother Lore. Maybe there's some sort of like he goes to the bar and drinks are free. But no, we're gonna end on I fucking rule.
It's almost as if these are short little story arcs that don't have time to explore all of the intricacies that you might like. But tell me, what is it that let's do a little brief epilogue. What do you think that Laura is going to do immediately after this?
I think it would 100% depend on what happened with Fish. Like, so if Fish didn't immediately just hate Lore forever after, which I would totally understand if he did, then I think Lore would be open to hanging around Mount Rena and being there to like help Fish. If Fish was like, no, fuck you, you're dead to me, which I would 100% understand, I think Lore would just go back to the forest. If Fish was like nowhere to be seen because he ran away, then like I think Lore would stick around, because I think Lore has now found I think through his time with Fish, he's like remembered the benefit of just like human company, or not human, but you know, person to person interaction.
I think let's man, I really want to do a little scene right now, but I don't know if it's fair to like hop back to narration after we have like gone into epilogue.
Do you want to just quick do this and then you can use it sometime in the future if you want to?
As the storm calms itself in front of you, you hear footsteps, running footsteps, echoing down the hallway behind you.
I probably immediately react by like picking up my club and shield again. All right, come on. What you got?
As you turn around and find yourself in a much smaller room, you find yourself closer to the hall than you would kind of expect. This space has sort of shrunk down. You turn and face a dwarven man running towards you. with a long stick with just sort of sprouts growing out of it, a light green glow surrounding it, and a ball of fire in his hand as he comes to a stop and just looks around the space that you're in, and his arms drop to his sides and the fire extinguishes itself, and he looks at you. You did it.
Yeah, man. It's okay. I figured it out. Hey, was that a shillelagh in a produced flame?
Yeah, it was.
And you got in here by yourself?
Yeah, the vines released me. They let me come in.
I think Lord drops his club and his shield, and he's like, "Hey, man, you fucking rule."
And Fish drops his shillelagh, and he walks forward and just like bear hugs you, like picks you up, and squeezes you in the air. And I think that's where we're gonna end this.
Yeah, that's a feel-good moment right there.
That's a feel-good moment.
And then we both lift our fist into the air, and it's like a freeze frame.
And then you pick him up, and then he picks you up again, and then you guys are just like going higher and higher, and then you look down and realize neither of your feet are on the floor anymore.
And then I use the thunderstorm that I have control of, and we both die. Sorry.
What do you think that Lore does immediately following this?
I think what he does is exactly the opposite of what I was expecting when we started this arc. So when we first talked about this character, in my mind, he was a character who was like irredeemably antisocial, like fucking hated people and saw no good part in them. And I think when we started this arc, he very much was that, but being with a friend and having to confront certain aspects of his past, I think Lore, who is a person and not just like, okay, so he's a character, but he's a character who is made as a person and not just like this character who didn't change at all. I think he would be open to staying in Mount Rena for a period of time. At the very least, he will be making regular trips back to his forest, but I think he's much more of a traveler than he was, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
He's now much more like, all right, you know what? I did this for you. And Fish, the best thing that you can do for me is make it so that I don't have to do this again. And he's gonna I think he would really focus on training Fish, and he might even reach out from that and try to reforge some connections that he broke with his at the very least, I think he would want to reach out to Core, his sister, to try to train her, because I think that he knows, I know, that one person in charge of nature in a community that is constantly plagued by a storm is dumb.
Yeah.
So I think the idea that he would train Fish, yes, but also train Core, as a mountain range does not just have one peak, it has multiple.
Oh, that's beautiful.
And I think he would work on training Fish and Core to work together.
That's beautiful, Eli.
Yeah. I came up with it literally just now, so.
That's very good. Oh boy. All right. So I'm really happy with that.
He would go back and talk shit about those raccoons again, about Raccoon. Ringo's got to get his act together.
He's got his act together. All right. Well, I think that with that, we're going to end this particular side character quest. And this has been really great. I've really enjoyed this one.
Yeah, I gotta say, it's weird because as much as I love Roderick, and as hard as it hit me how his arc ended, it's almost harder to leave Lore, because I don't know if it's because I was with him longer, or like he went through his arc challenged him in a way that Roderick's arc did not challenge Roderick.
Yeah.
So like lore actually changed as his arc went, whereas Roderick was like, aha, I'm out here to kill skeletons, and like didn't really change. So just having this character, and I think that lore is much more similar to who I am than Roderick is. So it's like, but I could do so much more with him.
Oh, man.
Ty, let me. You haven't taken him from me.
Listen, these other folks got to get another chance at playing their characters again.
For sure.
Yeah, boy. So I'm into it. I guess that now we're gonna wrap things up. How do you want to sign things off?
You know what? Let's go back to a classic. I've been your side character guest, Eli.
I've been your side character host, Ty.
That's it for this episode of Side Character Quest. Da 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 da. We're back, baby. Oh man.
Thanks to the Joy Drops for the use of Not Drunk as our intro and outro music. Find them at thejoydrops.com. You can find us at sidecharacterquest.com, at SCQ Podcast on Twitter, or by email at sidecharacterquest@gmail.com.
The Scavengers Network.
Creator-driven,
community-focused,
treasured content.
Do you wish your life was a little more spooky?
Well, what the heck? Hello, everyone. My name is Jordan Reed.
and I'm Lindsay Reed.
And this is Spooky Spouses, a podcast about ghosts and stuff.
Tall tales.
Although we went to dinner last night and you told the lady on our wait list that our name was Cradge. Was it Cradge?
Creepy cryptids.
There.
Poor Pizza Rat. Pizza Rat is pizza and a rat.
Yeah, it's double delicious.
He's a rat with pizza. It's like,
Yeah.
oh man.
Thank God there hasn't been a corn dog rat.
Or you'd be eating that
I think,
rat.
you know what? I think in my defense, if someone was like, you ate a live rat? I'd say, well, it was holding a perfectly good corn dog.
Monstrous goofs.
Well, you could probably just put a video because, like, our tombstones will probably just be, like, videos replaying. They'll be, like, memes or GIFs.
Yeah.
Our tombstones will probably just be GIFs.
That's
when we pass.
one of the coolest things you've ever said.
A spooky spot.
Sorry, there's something stuck in my throat that whole time. Spooky Spouses, a part of the Scavengers Network and VidiSpace. New episodes every Monday, wherever you get your podcasts.
Okay, so now post show, let's do a little quick post-mortem. Do you have any questions about how things could have gone or like plans that I had or anything like that?
Okay, so I know that there were several moments that you said, oh, wait. So, like, there were a couple of times where we had to postpone our recording sessions for one reason or another, and you responded with, wait, I just came up with a much better idea for how Laura's art is going to go. So, did you always intend for Silas to be the final boss, or...
I will tell you that, yes. The bargainer... So first of all, I will say that this whole thing, this whole difficulty that you have just faced would not have existed if Silas's arc hadn't gone the way they did.
God damn it. Okay, listen. Listen.
The bargainer was not meant to be a villain that other people would have to deal with.
So I recently re-listened to the whole podcast. So listeners, just so you know, at the time of recording, Ellen's...
We are at the first episode of Quail's arc.
Yes.
Has just come out.
Yes, her first arc has just come out. And I recently re-listened to everything, and I picked up on a whole bunch of things which I'm not going to go into because I feel like having someone piece together the pieces for you is no fun. But I remember partially because Ty tells me nothing that would affect how I play, but just, two of us are close friends and we communicate a good bit. And I remember he told me once, man, we were just so close to like a bunch of information coming out in the Silas arc. And listening to it the second time, I was like, man, it's just so frustrating. And it's totally understandable because like Dungeons and Dragons, and I think that like the way Silas's arc ends can hit anyone who's ever GM'd an RPG to the core, because it's like this happens. Like, Ty, what was the longest hiatus that we had for our D&D campaign? Probably like a year and a half, right?
I mean, maybe not a year at least 8 months. At least we had a campaign going between Eli, Mallory, and our friend Daryl, where I was the DM, and we like there were some long gaps.
No, it was
a
year. There was one that there was at least a year between two sessions, and that happens. And the fact that obviously that doesn't work for a recorded media. So you had to just be like, well, this is where the arc ends and we have to move on. And I remember listening to it being like, man, I wonder what would have happened. And now I know. But no, I super interesting. The when you introduce the Haint lore
with an E.
Lore with an E. When you introduce the Haint folklore into this world, I don't think that you realized how
I did not realize how into it you were.
The trigger point that Haints are for me and my upbringing. So that was really cool, and I'm really excited. And I have so many theories that I've shared with you that I'm not going to share here because, like I said, I think it's more interesting to have people put the pieces together. But like just the idea of Haints and how that might affect at least the religion of Mount Rena, if not the canon of side character quest.
Yeah.
Is so interesting to me.
One thing I would like to point out for listeners is that when Lore met Comstock, Eli had not listened to the episode where Comstock first shows up. So his reaction was a genuine one of just like, no, I can't deal with this person, which was I really enjoyed.
Yeah. So when we first introduced him to Comstock, the only NPC Lore had dealt with was fish and all the animals, right? So like Ringo
and those poachers. Well, poachers might be not the right word, but the hunters at least.
They were poachers.
Okay, that's fair.
Hey, it's illegal to hunt on Lore's land. So the way Lore had interacted with fish up to that point was very much at the viewpoint of Lore hates people. Fish is a person that he has known since he was a child, so he gets special treatment. So when Lore entered Ashburn and Comstock popped up, Eli was like, I hate this guy. I hate him. I hate him. And I was like, if that's how Eli feels about him, what does the Lore feel about him? And Lore's just going to turn right around and leave. And at first I felt bad because the idea of a antisocial player character is not great for the concept of a one-on-one Dungeons and Dragons podcast. It's not good, right? Like it's very bad. It's very much like hey Ty, I see your story. Fuck you. But I think I proved in the later episodes that I could do better, and I feel a little bit justified after hearing the first episode of Quail's arc, where I'm like, actually, still fuck that guy.
I was totally down with it. Eli kept saying like, hey, are you okay with me bailing on this, or do you want to if you want this for the story, that's fine. I'll do it. And I was like, no. Stick with your guns. Keep it going. Any other curiosities? Any other questions about things that happened?
I mean, can I make a few observations?
Yeah, go for it.
So I feel like this arc I want to say that. So my first arc was the fucking test arc with Eric,
Yeah.
and then I played as Roderick.
Technically, you had that one arc before that.
Oh, I forgot about that. Yeah.
Yeah, that did not even air.
Yeah, no, it shouldn't have.
It shouldn't.
So we played 3 one-on-one D&D campaigns of various sizes. So when we recorded Eric, that was like the time. Obviously, that was what I knew was kind of what was happening. When we recorded Roderick, I was like, okay, cool. So he's starting his canon. Now, with the things that you introduced in my arc, we get a taste of Quayle's arc. We get a taste of Annie's arc. We get a taste of Silas's arc. We get a taste of Roderick's arc, like Roderick's backstory.
Yeah.
It's very cool, like starting to see it all come together to a point where, like, I remember listening to earlier arcs, Annie, Roderick's, Silas, Deirdre, all those arcs, and I was like, I just don't see how they connect.
How this all connect. I remember asking you at one point, like, so do you have any theories about the show right now? Because I had just we had just done Deirdre's arc, which I felt was bringing things together. And I was like, oh, do you have any theories about like, or not bringing things together, but I felt it was introducing some mysteries and like raising some questions, but no one picked up on the questions I was laying down. And I asked you like, hey, do you have any theories about the world or anything like that? And you were like, I don't see what there is to have theories about yet.
Yes.
And I was like, oh shit, you're right. Like outside of my head, there's no reason to like piece all of these things together that I have like put down.
Yeah, and listening back from after Alton's arc, which was splendid, by the way, everyone should go and re-listen to it.
Mallory did a great job.
She did so good, and you did as well.
Yeah. Thank you.
I re-listened to everything. I was like, holy shit, there are all these little pieces. Like, me and my dumb brain was like trying to focus on the NPCs, but was the setting all along. And that's all I'm going to say about the things I pieced together is like, think about the settings. Because that's what you told me that to make me think about that. But this arc, I think, was, and I haven't listened to the rest. Like I've said, all I've heard is the first episode of Quayle's arc, so I don't know how that ends. Alton's arc had a good bit of stuff in it, but like this one was just so obvious. I went to Annie's public park that she makes. I love
the way you turned that as a public park. We were talking off mic about that. That's really good.
Yeah, it's a public park, right? She's making a public space, a nice place for people to come to. I fought the bargainer. I had a flashback to something from Roderick's arc, and Lore Roderick, at least in that moment, blamed Lore for it. Cool. Tight. And I imagine that probably would have been the instance when Laura was like, you know what? I'm out. I'm going. Yeah. I'm living in the woods. That's it.
There was a thing that I wanted to have Fish say to you if there was an opportunity, but the thing is that he didn't run into you at a time when he could have said this. Like if Fish and Lore had run into each other on bad terms, I was going to have Fish say something to Lore along the lines of, you think that you're a guy who's running away from other people's problems, but you're actually just running away from your own. And like that was what I think happened in that moment, where in order to distance yourself from the terrible things that you had been a part of, you doubled down, you tripled down on the idea that like everybody else was terrible and the world was terrible.
Yeah. I think one thing about this arc that has hit me more than Roderick's arc is those connections with people. Mm-hmm. The idea of like, he doesn't have a lot of friends, but he has one friend, sort of, or one like person who he can somewhat call a friend. And the part where he is at the temple and he has to make the decision that no, I'm not willing to risk fish getting vaporized because he didn't pay the price. And like this idea that he had this past thing, I don't know, just the emotions of this arc was a lot heavier than I was expecting them to be.
Me too.
Because of his past.
Yeah, I was not expecting. I feel like you had a lot of like good character, like emotional character moments that I was not expecting.
Like I said, Lore is a much more similar person. Like, I am more similar to Lore than I am to Roderick.
Yeah.
Like I've told you, every character I make is like, what is one aspect of me that I can kind of bring out the heaviest? Yeah. And with Roderick, it was that I am a rule follower, and Roderick is a rule follower. With Lore, it was this love of nature and this total pessimism of how people interact with nature, but also this weird mix of I don't really care for most people, but the people I do care about, I really care about.
And also this like bravado that comes through sometimes, but like over the top to the point of almost being self-deprecating at times.
Yeah, that makes sense. That sounds about right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that sounds about right.
That one was not a conscious decision. But we are going over on recording for a good bit, so I'm just going to tell you about a couple of things. I prepared these spells for specific. Every spell I have prepared was for a specific reason, and I want to go.
You mentioned you wanted to tell me this.
So I have all my cantrips, so I won't go over that. The first spell I have is Create or Destroy Water.
Okay.
The reason I have that prepared specifically is because I feel like Lore would not trust that any water that he got from Mount Rena was pure.
Beautiful. Love it.
The next spell, so I did not prepare Detect Poison and Disease, specifically for the idea that Lore would assume that everything is poisoned and or diseased.
Nice. Okay.
I also did not get Purify Food and Drink, specifically because in his mind, any food and drink that he got would be so corrupted that it wouldn't be worth it. I got Speak with Animals, which is obvious. He likes talking to animals. Enhance Ability, specifically because he knew he was going to a cold place and did not have proper cold clothing.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Hold Person, because if he saw a person that he didn't want to talk to, he wanted to be able to paralyze them and run away.
Nice.
Call Lightning, because it gave him some sort of ability over storms. So I think his idea was like maybe he could use that to help with that.
Deal with the storm. Makes sense.
Conjure Animals is sort of like a go-to. I don't want to deal with this, but I'm really good with animals, so I'll make my animals fight them.
Makes sense.
Dispel Magic, because if there's a spell making, that one's pretty obvious.
Pretty obvious.
And then Protection from Energy.
Oh, interesting.
Can give him resistance to acid, cold, fire, lightning, or thunder. So the idea is if he had to go into the storm, he could use that to give him some sort of lightning resistance.
Yeah. It also could have been potentially useful against those different corrupted creatures.
Yeah.
And such. If you hadn't managed to distract them all.
Yeah, I gotta say, that Conjure Animals was super useful. The spell turning of the Crag Cat was... Yeah. Oh my god, because it is specifically for spells that require a saving throw. Yeah. And I was like, not a whole lot of spells, and it's a saving throw that is specifically targeting the character. Yeah. So like if it's like Fireball or something, it's not gonna work. Yeah. But I was like, but maybe this will come in handy, and boy did it. Boy howdy.
It's crazy because, like, you know, I had sort of I had taken the sphere spell and I had sort of morphed it a little bit, which wouldn't have really mattered except that I did change it in a way that made it target just you. Yeah. And therefore it was affected by that thing. Also, the reason I had it go the way it did is because
Hey, anyone about to play side character quest, grab yourself a blue bottle. Trust me.
Well, I'll give you listeners and Eli also a hint. The next character is not going to be a dwarf, and they will not be from Mount Rena. I don't believe they've ever been to Mount Rena. So they probably are not aware of that particular cultural thing.
Not aware of the haints. They're doomed.
They're not aware of the haints.
R.I.P. that person.
R.I.P. that person. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to the next few episodes. I've been planning them out for a while, and my idea is that these are going to be like, hopefully, they're going to be quail length. So they're going to be 1 to 2 episodes that are going to be jumping around the map, seeing places that we have not seen before.
Ooh.
I'm trying to think if there's anything else I wanted to share. I think I've covered everything I specifically wanted to say. I will say that some of the locations that you could have visited in Mount Rena included a bathhouse.
Oh, damn. Ty, that's my favorite shit. Is bathhouses.
Sorry, man.
I don't think it would have been Laura's thing, though.
I know. I think I might have mentioned it at some point, and Laura was like, "Nah, dog." But that, and like you could have gone to the forges that I believe your parents work at.
I was about to say, I imagine that like Laura thought briefly, should I see Mom and Dad? Absolutely not.
I like that.
Absolutely
even in
not.
the epilogue. Even in the epilogue, you didn't talk about visiting your parents.
No, absolutely. That was like never. I imagine that like his parents were never chill with his natural side of things, and then like when he became more soured on dwarf culture, it was like I don't know. I imagine like almost a teenage rebellion scene of just him at the dinner table and like Core as a baby in her high chair, and Laura just yelling, "This is bullshit," and like flipping his "I'm out of here, y'all don't even understand," and he lifts his
flipping up his pinky.
He flips up his pinky and like runs out.
Nice. Yeah, man, that's about right. I think that's pretty much everything I wanted to touch on. Do you have any final questions, or are you ready to call it?
Shit, dog, I gotta call it. I gotta work in the morning.
All right, man. It's 11:08.
Yeah.
I also have to work in the morning. All right, guys.
Great session, dude. This is gonna get cut and put in the bloopers.
Like, I don't want to say frown. What is the word for like opposite of a smile?
That's frown.
I can't make a raccoon sound.
Please hold for paper flipping and looking away from the mic.
He's learning, guys. He's flicking me off, guys.
Roll 1d4 to select blooper. You have selected repeat of host. Roll 1d10 to select return of Eli. You have selected 1, meaning Eli has arrived right now.
No.